super fast internet speed. Be reliable broadband.
BSNL unbeatable broadband. Like me, you should get connected with BSNL broadband.
ये Analyst, इंडिया का सबसे हेटेड बल्ब।
ये राहुल को पसंद नहीं, ईशा को पसंद नहीं, सोनू बंटी बबली को नहीं, जॉनी को सलोनी को नहीं। जब भी शाम को बिजली गई, इस बल्ब को देखो फर्क पड़ा ही नहीं।
सही
नहीं, यानी पढ़ाई में आया नो ब्रेक, लाइट बिना ब्रेक चलती गई।
पेश है हेलोनिक्स इन्वर्टर बल्ब जो लाइट जाने के बाद भी चलता रहे। फ्यूचर इज दिस हेलोनिक्स मेड the identity. As distances vanished, it brought a smile to the face. Strong resolve helped overcome every obstacle. With speed, attacked every challenge. The entire world was within my grasp when I found BSNL in the garb of my affection.
BSNL super fast fiber broadband. Like me, you should get connected with BSNL fiber broadband.
60,000 से भी ज्यादा लोग अपने बिग मूव का जश्न मना रहे हैं। आप भी शामिल हो। Honda Amaze, the big move.
Upon whom every Indian relies, whose every action manifests a desire to make the country proud. She relies only on BSNL broadband because that is the country's best broadband. Be it village or city, super fast internet speed. BSNL reliable broadband.
BSNL unbeatable broadband. Like me, you should get connected with BSNL broadband.
Each wave brings a new challenge, but not strong enough to throw us off balance. There are days we guide our fishermen, and days we guard our men. Some days we float above the sea, and other days we fly over it. If you like to take on challenges, then you what we have in store for you. Join the Indian Coast Guard. Face a different challenge every day.
Made the identity. As distances vanished, it brought a smile to the face. Strong resolve helped overcome every obstacle. With speed, attacked every challenge. The entire world was within my grasp when I found BSNL in the garb of affection.
BSNL super fast fiber broadband. Like me, you should get connected with BSNL fiber broadband.
ये है हेलोनिक्स, इंडिया का सबसे हेटेड बल्ब।
ये राहुल को पसंद नहीं, ईशा को पसंद नहीं, सोनू बंटी बबली को नहीं, जॉनी को सलोनी को नहीं। जब भी शाम को बिजली गई, इस बल्ब को देखो फर्क पड़ा ही नहीं।
सही
नहीं, यानी पढ़ाई में आया नो ब्रेक, लाइट बिना ब्रेक चलती गई।
पेश है हेलोनिक्स इन्वर्टर बल्ब जो लाइट जाने के बाद भी चलता रहे। फ्यूचर इज दिस हेलोनिक्स।
I am proud to play for my country. But doing that requires training, hard work, separation from family. But there is someone who gives me the courage to fight, brings my loved ones close to me. Always with me, my family and my BSNL unbreakable network. I have chosen BSNL network, so should you.
अरे राजेश भाई, दीपक बहुत दिनों बाद दिख रहे हो तुम। हाँ, और बताओ। बस मेरी बेटी का कल जन्मदिन है और आपको आना होगा। हाँ हाँ, क्यों नहीं भाई, नेकी और पूछ पूछ। और सूरज भाई, आपको तो निमंत्रण मिल ही चुका है। चलो चलता हूँ।
अरे राजेश भैया, आप उससे हाथ क्यों मिला रहे थे? उसे पिछले महीने से टीबी है।
2 हफ्ते तक लगातार दवा खाओ ना तो टीबी फैलने का खतरा तो बिल्कुल ही खत्म हो जाता है। और रही बात हाथ मिलाने की, गले मिलने की, शौचालय इस्तेमाल करने की, बर्तन खाना बांटने की, उससे टीबी नहीं फैलता।
टीबी हारेगा, देश जीतेगा।
फोन मिला और मुस्कुरा, फोन मिला और मुस्कुरा, कुछ अपनों की सुन, कुछ अपनी सुना, स्माइल को अपनी पहचान बना। BSNL संग मुस्कुरा, फोन मिला और मुस्कुरा, फोन मिला और मुस्कुरा।
Welcome back from the break. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. You're watching NewsX's exhaustive coverage of the Union Budget 2019, the last interim budget of the NDA government. It comes in an election year and it's a budget which has had many firsts. There will be no tax for those earning up to 5 lakh rupees in a year. That's a tax rebate that has been offered by this government and announced today, which will of course be implemented later this year. This tax relief is going to help 3 crore taxpayers. For those earning up to 6.5 lakh rupees in a year, specific income, also bail them out of the tax net. That's something that Interim Finance Minister Piyush Goyal referred to earlier while presenting the budget. Piyush Goyal today also announced a 6,000 rupees direct cash transfer to small farmers. He said this move would directly impact over 12 crore individuals in the agricultural sector. So 12 crore Kisans stand to benefit from that announcement. FM, Piyush Goyal also today announcing a mega pension scheme for the workers of the unorganized sector. Yes, the Pradhan Mantri Shram Yogi Mandhan Yojana will now provide a assured monthly pension of 3,000 rupees with a contribution of 100 rupees per month for workers in the unorganized sector after they attain 60 years of age. Much was about the pakoda walas and pakodanomics. Well, now the pakoda walas and many others in the unorganized sector will also be able to avail of this in this announcement that is of course coming from the government. Well, this move of course will help household helps, drivers, plumbers, electricians and other workers earning less than the threshold salary. Under this scheme, the minimum guaranteed pension will benefit about 100 million people earning a monthly salary of less than 50,000 rupees. The current minimum pension stands, remember, at 1,000 rupees per month for the organized workers. The scheme will cost the government 500 crore rupees as well. So, not for a lot of sectors, which was of course only expected in an election year. Will it be enough though for the NDA government to get them the votes, for them to come back to power later this year? That's something only time will tell. But joining us live on the broadcast to examine this union budget of 2019 and give us their analysis, we have a special panel. Vineet Goenka, leader of the BJP, joins us in our studio. Aishwarya Mahadev, spokesperson of the Congress. Shortly, Karan Bedi, consumer market analyst, will be with us in just a bit. Sumit Peer, digital tech expert, joins us in our studio. SK Datta, political analyst, also live with us in our studio. Prashant Solomon, honorary treasurer, CREDAI, also live with us in our studio. And Vivek Vadhavan, economic analyst, still live with us as well, an expert. Vivek Vadhavan, you wanted to come in before we took the break on the jobs argument as well. Vikram Vadhavan, I beg your pardon. You know, that's something, of course, that the opposition has been criticizing. You also raised that point earlier. You want to come in with an intervention.
So the reason I wanted to ask one question from Vineetji was that, of course, I have no reason to dispute or challenge the numbers you spoke about in terms of job creation. But my worry is the gap between the unemployed youth vis-a-vis the number of jobs being created. So to give you some numbers, you know, we have close to about 6 million graduates hitting the job market every year. To top it up, we have 16.3% graduates who are unemployed already. Another 14.2% postgraduates and beyond are unemployed. So the numbers are huge vis-a-vis the numbers of job creations which have been done. What I wanted to understand, how do you plan to address this huge gap which we currently have?
Quick reaction,
so
and
I would like to
we'll open it up. Yeah.
I'd like to thank Vadhavanji. It's a very question which he has asked. All these years we were producing graduates and postgraduates who were looking out for jobs only in a government sector. Now the educational system was at stake. And number two, a middle class who was not earning well was subjected to go to schools which are not so good, equivalent to IIMs or IITs of this world, because they were not having money to pay their fees, especially the category under the social reservation. Now I think this first particular thing which we have done is to enable the not socially backward but economically backward class, be it be upper class Hindus, be it be Christians or Muslims, now get benefit of this and go to good schools like you and me and come and sit in this particular debate again. So that is one amendment, and you will see the results in 5 to 4 years. Number two, the transparency which has come up. Now because of that, the applications are online, selections are online, you can challenge. Now there is no bhai bhatijawad. You don't see, you know, some railway ministers going and doing mass scandals of jobs in railway ministry. You don't see these kind of scandals which are coming up. Number three, see, our education system till date was producing clerks, the MacLaw system. Here there is a change. You are enabling and making them entrepreneurs. As I said in the earlier segment, See the number of jobs which have been created in private sector. You know, the 72 lakh EPF which has been filed up. This is because there isn't jobs in organized sector. If I go on to the unorganized sector, the enablement to have their own vehicles, the passenger vehicles, more than 32 lakh passenger vehicles are there. Yeah. If you understand, passenger vehicles are not generally owned by one person or not driven by one person. More than two people do that. Yeah. 64 lakhs jobs have been created there itself.
Yeah, we saw that.
Irrigation enablement of the farms will give access to the farmers, and there will be job employment.
Okay.
One last point. Did you ever think that there will be an extra of food grains and food particles?
You've answered that now exhaustively, Vineet. I need to open this up to the rest of our panel, but I want to quickly go across also to Lucknow at this point for an on-ground of people there. Varnit Gupta, my colleague, joining us live on the broadcast. Varnit, what are people's reaction on ground to the union budget of 2019? It's very important to get the Aam Aadmi as well. Varnit, over to you.
Well, the Aam Aadmi is really happy with this budget. If you see, the people are really happy. You know, they are saying that this is a very populist budget, and this budget has catered to the middle class and the farmers. So I'm joined by a few people here who are, you know, who are working, and they are they belong to a middle class society. Let me just ask them what they have to say about this particular budget. आपको कैसे लग रहा है ये? मिडिल क्लास के लिए क्या कुछ आपको लग रहा है कि इस बार बजट में रहा है, मोदी सरकार ने वो चीजें फुलफिल की हैं?
सबसे अच्छी बात तो इस बजट में रही कि मिडिल क्लास के लिए उन्होंने 2.5 लाख से जो स्लैब था उसको 5 लाख कर दिया, तो वो बहुत ही रिलीफ देने वाली खबर है, जिससे लोग जो है जिस क्राइटेरिया में आ रहे थे थोड़ा सा उनको रिलीफ मिलेगी। और दूसरी सबसे अच्छी बात हमको लगी इस बजट में कि किसानों के लिए उन्होंने जो डायरेक्ट बेनिफिट ट्रांसफर का किया है साल में 6,000 का, तो जहाँ पे किसान थोड़ा नर्वस थे अपने फसल को लेके और गरीबी से लेके, उनको भी ये रिलीफ देगा बजट।
ठीक है, आपको क्या कहना है इस बजट के बारे में? क्या लगता है ये बजट कैसा रहेगा? क्या इससे सरकार फिर से बना पाएगी मोदी जी?
ओवरऑल बजट तो काफी अच्छा रहा, फिर से मोदी की सरकार इन टाइम वो जरूर आएगी।
अच्छा, कुछ खास बात जो आपको इस बजट की लगी हो?
इनकम स्लैब ज्यादा अच्छा लगा। एज ए मिडिल क्लास फैमिली से बिलोंग होने के नाते ये चीज है कि जो 2.5 लाख से 5 लाख का वो स्लैब बढ़ गया, वो ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट अपने लिए।
You know, this will be a game changer, and as the ministers of union government, they are also pointing it out, and they are also saying that this is a very populist budget, and definitely this will help the middle class also. The relaxation in the tax will definitely help them, and this will also be helping BJP in this 29 elections also.
It's a please all budget, and the people there in Lucknow you spoke to obviously welcoming it. That should set some smiles in BJP leaders' faces, at least those reactions of those people. Varnit, stay with us. Let me also bring in Prashant Solomon at this point. Prashant Solomon, about the real estate sector per se, but also your overall analysis of other aspects of the Union Budget 2019, the interim budget 2019, the last budget of Modi Sarkar. What is your view?
From the overall general perspective, I think it has done a good job giving relief to the general people. In terms of the biggest point is raising the income tax limit from 5, actually effectively it's 6.5 lakhs. Because of the 1.5 extra you can invest in certain instruments. So which means that anyone in India who earns up to 54,000 rupees a month is now essentially exempted from income tax, which is a good thing because that will put a lot more disposable income in the pockets of people, which will be spent, and that will fuel the entire economy. Now, as a representative from the real estate industry, as you mentioned, that we are happy with this budget. Because we have seen that apart from the income tax exemption, there are other benefits that have been given to the industry. Like, for example, people who are into affordable projects, the exemption under the Income Tax Act 80 BA, has been extended for 1 more year. Additional rent on unsold inventory has also been extended from 1 to 2 years, which is a great thing. And a very good thing, what the finance Minister mentioned, although there were no numbers, but we are still very hopeful in the industry. He said that they are talking to the GST Council about giving further benefit to home buyers under GST. Currently, we're paying 12%. They're paying 12%. We're hopeful in the industry that if this is reduced further, that will help the common, will help boost the industry as a whole. Income tax on properties, which are notional rent, has been extended to second houses as well, occupied houses. Capital gains tax is also, when the rollover of capital gains tax has been extended from 1 to 2 houses, and TDS deduction of rent from 1.8 lakhs has gone up to 2.4 lakhs. So for the real estate industry as such, it's a great budget and we really welcome it. However, in general, one more point I would like to add is that there are certain questions, as in if you look at it from a balanced perspective, the question is that actually, as the finance minister was talking about the fiscal deficit, is that really, will you be able to maintain the fiscal deficit?
Fiscally budget prudently, given the SOPs and the other populist announcements, is your question. Okay, Sumit P, your analysis, your reading of the budget.
You see, Uday, how do I look at it? I look at a budget for all. It's a 360-degree budget. It's a complete change from a paradigm what we had. There is no single sector, there is no in an economy which can today say, I'm left out. It's a budget for the people, it's a budget by the people. So they have done everything to please every sector. There are no leftovers. So that's the first fundamental to make. And, I recall, I was last night on your channel, I said that, rather than putting our piecemeal demands, why don't we ask, and I presume that there'll be up to 50,000 rupees of income, will have no income tax. I think that has come true. And the second thing what is more important than that is, you look at the way why this has been possible. You have the highest collection of tax. You have the highest number of people in the tax net. Your GST was talking about 1 lakh crores in January, but PUG gave the figure. With more people joining the tax net, with GST collections coming to all our high, all-time high, what we can expect in the economy, that the burden on the individual taxpayers will come lowered. And the most important thing what I want to specify here is not the farmers, is not a middle class. I said yesterday, middle class deserves what they get. And it's rightfully so. Thank you, sir. Thanks for.
So you're happy for the,
but one important point. What I learned, which was the biggest revelation of my life, is that unorganized sector contributes to 55% of the Indian GDP. And there was nobody who was talking about that. There was no pension scheme. There was nothing. Farmers,
so you
middle
appreciate
class,
that.
Farmers, middle class, my friend, have
these
been
are
part of
often
the budget.
Ignored sectors.
55%
the middle class is often the ignored sector by successive governments. The unorganized sector is not referred to, as you're saying. So it's the first time. So
first time,
that's why on the start of the show that it's a budget of many firsts. Okay, Karan Bedi, come in here. What's your view of the budget and how have markets reacted to the budget?
Well, it's a very good budget for the industry and also for the common. It's a 360 budget, as rightly said. I guess the middle class and the unorganized sector is again given much more importance in this budget, and we feel that over the complete industry.
But as you're a consumer market expert, specifically on the point, will it increase consumer spending? And secondly, how have the Sensex and the Nifty etc. reacted to it?
Definitely, in terms of the consumer spending, we expect the consumer having leverage in terms of the taxation would be spending more to buy the consumer durable products, but we were expecting more in terms of the import duty benefits to encourage the A-class component level manufacturing in the country. And also there was some more incentives expected on the exports, because if we see currently India is a very attractive marketplace for all the foreign investors and the brands to come here and manufacture. But there are some incentives which on, especially on the exports, to encourage the A-class component level manufacturing in the country. Right now under Make in India, we all know that it's growing, but still we are missing on the A-class component level and the technology.
All right. Let me now go to the politicians on the panel, and before I go to the BJP and Congress representatives, political analyst Datta, come in here. At the end of the day, this was a budget that, of course, is coming in an election year. Do you believe it will be a please all budget that was expected?
Well, Uday, last year I had said that the last year's budget was, in my understanding, the best budget. But I would say that the outgoing government today has given the best budget. It is a budget which is meant for all. It's a budget which is meant for the deprived section of the society. I was always concerned about the deprived section of the society, whether it was the unorganized sector, whether it was the farming class, or for that matter, whether it was the lower middle class and the middle class as such. And it's a good move on part of the government that the government has taken care of all the section of the society and especially all these classes which I'm talking about. Secondly, together with this, if we look into the allocation which has been given to the in the budget for the defense sector, that itself is a quantum leap. There is a almost a 32% hike in relation to defense allocation. It is almost 3 lakh crore now, which is in a way very, very historic, taking into consideration the geostrategic scenario across South Asia and Southeast Asia. And yesterday, the Cabinet Committee on Defense had taken a decision of allowing 60,000 crores for modernization of weaponry of defense forces.
All right,
that
SK Datta. All right, yes, finish your point, yes.
Just 10 seconds, please. That itself is a historic move. Together with that, unorganized sector, which is almost around 10 crore in number in our country. The fact that for the first time they have been brought under the organized sector with a scheme at 60 years of age, this itself is a out-of-the-box thinking. You know, it's a out-of-the-box thinking which for the last 60 years no government has ever thought of.
Okay.
The gypsies and the nomadic tribes in our country who have always been out of the economic ladder of the country, the fact that this government has thought on those lines in bringing them to the economic ladder, that itself is a historic initiative. Together with that, if you look into the subs even to the farming sector, to the farmers, you know, and especially the 6,000 rupees as direct transfer, as I was mentioning you yesterday, Gauri, I mean, that itself is a historic move, and I think our government taking into consideration the tight economic scenario, not only at the domestic level, but also at the international level. This was the best possible way of catering to the needs of each and every section of the society. And I see no other way a better move could have been done. When the opposition reacts with ifs and buts and with full stops and commas and says that it is in half in English and half in Hindi, that itself shows that the budget is actually so good that they had nothing to squabble about except for finding out the ifs and buts and semicolons, full stops.
Okay, all right, okay, yes. So, of course, the politics of it is something that we will continue to debate as well. Whether or not this is really the poll bugle being sounded out by the BJP also, of course, is the big question. In fact, we do have a big guest joining us on the broadcast. Mr. Amitabh Kant, CEO of Niti Aayog, is with us. Mr. Kant, can you hear me, sir? This is Gauri here in the studio, sir.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, sir. Sir, your first thoughts on the budget. Many say it's actually a please all budget. It's there. Something is there for everybody in this.
First and foremost, I think the budget makes a very structural change. It moves away from, you know, whole business about farm loan waivers and gets into the business of direct benefit transfer, which is transformational, because there will be no issues of you know, credit histories, market distortions, and that to my mind is good. And when you look at this along with the 5% interest subvention,
right,
along with focus on dairy and fisheries, this will be really good for the economy. But the important thing is that Centre has pushed what it had to do, and now the states have to call for market reforms. They need to bring in technology. They need to push for cold storages, logistics, warehouses, and a lot is incumbent on the.
Okay. All right. So you feel, of course, the next step of reforms have to be taken by the
Secondly,
states.
I think many people have not done.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Finish your point, sir.
You know, the budget shows a 17 to 18% increase on education and health. This is transformational because in the long run, the country can't grow without adequate resources being put in education and health and without Human Development Index. Thirdly, I think the budget puts a lot of income in the hands of agriculture sector and that is the farmers and the middle class of India.
Right.
And this will in turn enhance earnings and push for investment in the rural economy of India. And you will see in due course a thrust on two-wheelers, three-wheelers, tractors, and increased expenditure in the rural economy of India. That will be greatly beneficial to the larger economy of India.
So, sir, back of the envelope calculation, what do they suggest in terms of how much of a boost will this be to the consumption-led economy or the consumption-led growth really after, of course, more money coming in the hands of middle class, more money coming in the hands of the farmers?
No, why do you say consumption-led economy? Because the budget has a huge focus on infrastructure and there's a huge focus on social sector. So all these put together, the budget has to be looked at in its totality. And more than the numbers game, I think when a budget is just 4 or 5 months before the election, you have to look at the narrative of the budget. You have to say whether the budget brings out the big picture of what has been done, what is the vision of the government for the future, what is the canvas, large canvas of the government, and there the budget scores very well. It brings in optimism and hope, and I think that's important because the budget story is woven through the story of jobs. It across sectors. It not merely looks at jobs for today, but it looks at new areas of growth.
So the criticism coming in is
artificial intelligence, electric mobility, digital,
so the criticism coming in is that not enough
digital villages. All these are
not enough mention as far as jobs is concerned. That is one of the big criticisms that's coming in.
No, the whole budget story is a story of jobs across agriculture sector, across MSME sector, across unorganized sector, and across new areas of growth.
So you think this will push and create more jobs?
I'm quite sure. If you put more income in the agriculture sector, if you're pushing for dairy and fisheries, if you're pushing for MSME sector, if you're creating greater thrust on even electric mobility, transportation, highways, will they not create jobs?
Okay. What about...
They are all multiplier impacts on job creation.
All right. So what about the fact that, as far as the back of the operations for the revenue and the expenditures, is that something that is within the comfort level as far as fiscal prudence is concerned? Or that, as somebody who understands the economy, as somebody who understands numbers well, at some level you're a little concerned about any of those figures?
No, we've had a look at that. The only concern can be the fiscal slippage from 3.3 to 3.4. But that's not a source of worry because as long as resources are going into infrastructure and the resources are getting into the farming community hand, so I'm not a great believer on 1.2 numbers as long as the quality of investment is good.
Okay, all right. So you're not so concerned as far as overall numbers are concerned. Also, sir, what about the fact that this is a breakaway? Though as somebody who pays taxes, as somebody who's representative of middle class, I'm thrilled at the prospect of paying lower taxes. But there are many who believe this is a away from convention.
No, the budget. It's a budget for which any interim budget of this nature would have spelt the long story. It would have spelt out the vision. It would have spelt out the narrative, and as it should have been, and should have taken some policy measures, which it has done.
Any specific?
And it has addressed the concern of the unorganized, the middle class, and the farming community.
Okay. Any specific area that you think the economy needed more focus on, or do you think this is a very holistic budget that does cater to more?
No, I'm a big believer in the fact that it's not possible for to grow without immense focus on health outcomes, without focusing on learning outcomes, and focusing on nutrition. So these are areas which were not very specific mentioned, but then I had a very close look at the budgetary outlays, and I found that actually education and health have an increase of over 17%.
Okay. All right.
So that's the story.
So what about banking? That's a sector, do you think, needed more concern and more efforts, sir?
So banking, the bank capitalization has just been done. But that's an issue out of the budget process. The capitalization of the banks, the greater focus on the insolvency bankruptcy code and pushing for quicker, faster resolution is necessary. But that's not a story. Everything can't be weaved into the budget and should not be weaved into the budget.
All right. Everything.
That bit is out of the budget and has already been, much action is underway on that.
Okay. So final two questions, sir. We've addressed specific areas. What about the fact that, now a lot more money is being given as far as the farmers are concerned? Do you think this will be able to address the rural distress that many say is something that's far more than what we are being able to appreciate?
No, it's a very good step forward to address the issue of rural distress. But you can't look at agriculture sector one in isolation. You have to look at what is being done in the rural development sector. Through roads, through Manrega, many other areas. And second point I want to make is that long-term agriculture issues cannot be resolved without technology, without markets, without cold storages, without backward-forward linkages, without better seeds provided to farmers, and all this is the job of the state governments.
All right. Last question to you, sir.
On agricultural reforms, we need to name and shame our state governments.
Okay. Last question to you, sir. As far as the budget is concerned, and the investors, they of course have reacted positively to the budget announcements. Do you think that despite being an election year, the message that goes out to the global investor community is of policy continuity? The message that goes out is that India is still a growth story?
The story that goes out is of policy continuity, of stability, of predictability, and of dynamism and growth.
All right, sir, we leave it there. Mr. Kant, really appreciate you joining us on the broadcast, taking those questions as far as budget is concerned. Your first thoughts on the union budget presented by Interim Finance Minister Piyush Goyal. This, of course, is the budget of the Modi government set into motion really as far as campaigning is concerned from here on for the BJP. As Amitabh Kant was pointing out, as far as agriculture is concerned, a lot needs to be done by state governments, but of course the budget's key announcements would lead to a lot of spurring of consumption-led economy and consumption-led growth from here on going forward. You wanna come in on that, Mr. Datta?
See, we need to see the whole thing in a holistic manner, you know, like, I mean, we cannot isolate one sector from the other, and we cannot isolate consumers from the supply side, or, you know, people who are supply side from the demand side. Everything has to be looked in a holistic manner, in a holistic pattern, and then only we can identify as to which way things are going and which way things are blowing, you know. The fact that the stock market, the Nifty and the National Stock Exchange reacted in a very positive way, the fact that, you know, like, our investors have been very, very positive about this budget, you know. The industrialists per se are quite pleased with this budget. And the concerns of the rural distress and the concerns of the unorganized sectors have been met in this budget, you know. If we really overcome the scenario of unemployment, you know, we have to think on those lines, and I guess on those lines this budget has actually focused that direction. And Mr. Piyush Goyal has proved that a good chartered accountant is normally a good economist.
All right, okay. On that note, a quick break on the show. We return on the other side with our rolling coverage of Budget 2019. Stay tuned.
Upon whom every Indian relies, whose every action manifests a desire to make the country proud. She relies only on BSNL broadband, because that is the country's best broadband. Be it village or city, super fast internet speed. BSNL, reliable broadband.
BSNL, unbeatable broadband. Like me, you should get connected with BSNL broadband.
ये है हेलोनिक्स, इंडिया का सबसे हेटेड बल्ब।
को पसंद नहीं, ईशा को पसंद नहीं, सोनू बंटी बबली को नहीं, जाने को नहीं। जब भी शाम को बिजली गई, इस बल्ब को देखो फर्क पड़ा ही नहीं।
सही
नहीं, यानी पढ़ाई में आया नो ब्रेक, लाइट बिना ब्रेक चलती गई।
पेश है हेलोनिक्स इन्वर्टर बल्ब, जो लाइट जाने के बाद भी चलता रहे। फ्यूचर इज दिस हेलोनिक्स। Made speed the identity. As distances vanished, it brought a smile to the face. Strong resolve helped overcome every obstacle. With speed, attacked every challenge. The entire world was within my grasp when I found BSNL in the garb of my loved one's affection.
Super fast fiber broadband. Like me, you should get connected with BSNL fiber broadband.
Each wave brings a new challenge, but not strong enough to throw us off balance. There are days we guide our fishermen, and days we guard our countrymen. Some days we see, and other days we fly over it. If you like to take on challenges, then you'll love what we have in store for you. Join the Indian Coast Guard. Face a different challenge every day.
I am proud to play for my country. But doing that requires training, hard work, separation from family. But there is someone who gives me the courage to fight, brings my loved ones close to me. Always with me, my family and my BSNL unbreakable network. I have chosen BSNL network, so should you.
लक्ष्मी बाई को कंपनी चाहिए है कि जल्दी महल खाली कर दे।
मैं अपनी झांसी नहीं दूंगी।
मैच खत्म?
नहीं, मेरा डेटा प्लान खत्म।
जीपीएस बंद हो गया, लगता है नेटवर्क गया।
मेरा भी नेटवर्क गायब
टीना।
है। इसका तो फोन ही डब्बा है।
अब
कहीं चलकर रास्ता पूछ लेते।
कमाल मतलब मारता है भाई साहब। मेरे प्रीतों का फोन है। हाँ टाइम डाल आ जाऊंगा। भाई वाह, आपके फोन में कौन सा नेटवर्क है? चैनल और की
BSNL दे क्रिस्टल क्लियर वॉइस हाई स्पीड डेटा। BSNL पूर्ण स्वदेशी नेटवर्क।
Welcome back. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. You're watching NewsX's exhaustive coverage of the Union Budget 2019, the interim budget presented today by Interim FM Piyush Goyal, the last budget of the incumbent NDA government under Prime Minister Narendra Modi. They've said it's a please-all budget. Will it be enough to get them the votes to come back to power? That remains the big question in an election year. Let me quickly go across now to Aishwarya Mahadev, spokesperson of the Congress Party, also live with us at this point. Aishwarya Mahadev, the BJP says it's a please-all budget. They've touched upon every single sector, some in the unorganized sector and the middle class, who often are ignored by budgets in previous BJP tenures and Congress tenures, and they believe this will be the game changer to sway the votes in their favor in an election year. Do you agree with that? Okay, I don't think she can hear me. Aishwarya, can you hear me? All right, I think she clearly can't hear me. But you know, one of the main criticisms, of course, clearly has been, Sumit, on the jobs front. And you were hearing the defense that Amit, CEO of Niti Aayog, was giving just a short while back. He said, we don't necessarily need to create talk about creating jobs. You spur growth, and jobs will...
Yeah, let me give you the first biggest takeaway. If you look from every Indian, I'm not talking about myself, I'm not talking about the people on the panel here, every Indian, you see 5 trillion is a story of the past. We are talking of 10 trillion now. 20, 30, 10 trillion, that is the new story. And we have also given the vision. What are the, how are we going to achieve it? That's exactly what I said even yesterday. I mean, Datasa was with me. I said, you know, it's not going to be, you can expect everything from Prime Minister Modi. Knowing his style, he's a leader who demonetization to surgical strikes in 12 months. If that is the caliber of the leader, so don't think it will be just a hodgepodge budget, something will happen, some stops will be given. Middle class will get things, everything will happen, but he's also going to give a vision for 10 years that he gave. He gave a new benchmark. That, what does Modi say? What does PM say respectively? Give me 2 more terms. From an economy, when I took over, it was around 1.5, 1.6. I'll take you to 10 trillion. You are already the highest growing economy at 7.5%. The IMF will be growing at 7.7. China and all are going up. And what are the major policy steps which I am going to take? What are those 10 commandments which I am going to take to make it 10 trillion? And if you look today, Uday, what did the Piyush say? Piyush Goyal ji said one thing very clearly. Anything he was announcing, he was relating it to jobs. Okay. Because with GDP increasing, with tax structure increasing, with demand increasing, the jobs are increase, because we don't have aliens coming from Mars to do jobs in India. Yeah. Neither the Chinese will come. We are only going to do the jobs. So if we are increasing the economy in 10 years from now to 10 trillion, who is going to do all the jobs? The jobs are going to be with us, Indians. We are going to do all the jobs. Okay. So there should be no doubt about jobs. If somebody wants to put commas, what rightly said apostrophes, no. They have their political compulsions, but in a democracy, they're welcome to have some.
All right, let me quickly go to Aishwarya Mahadev, spokesperson of the Congress, once again, if she can hear me. Aishwarya, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You know, the BJP says it's a please-all budget. It's, of course, was expected in an election year. You heard before the break, CEO Niti Aayog, Amitabh Kant, respond to the criticism of your party and other opposition on no mention of jobs in this particular budget. At the end of the day, you know, all aspects, all sectors have been touched upon, Aishwarya, from the unorganized sector to the middle class, of course, the farmers. Do you believe all this could possibly sway the, are you worried rather, that all this could possibly sway the votes in the BJP's favor? That's what they're hoping after this budget that they're calling quite a game changer budget in an election year.
You know, that's the thing. There are a few things that need to be clarified. First of all, it is what Mr. Chidambaram called it, a last gasp budget. And the thing is, as much as people are using it for being so holistic, every sector, and almost making it a panacea for all ills, you realize this is not what an interim budget is even supposed to be. Not only has the BJP played fraud upon what is constitutional convention and parliamentary convention, they've also played fraud on the aspirations of millions who they're now going to take and sell as snake oil to the rest of the country in an election year. The very simple fact is that interim budgets are very hard to put through, and in the next few months the government is inevitably, whoever the dispensation is, it is going to change. And I believe that if they had such great solutions in all these years, why weren't one of these budgets, you know, announced even 2 years ago or 3 years ago? Nothing. This is a budget where they're clutching at straws and they're trying to put out a budget. Everybody says it's extremely holistic. No, there are large gaps in this budget. And you know, it is a fallacious argument to say, you know what, because we're driving towards GDP growth. GDP growth, mind you, is based on revised numbers, which is why we're showing growth that high. If we're driving towards GDP growth, which means jobs will naturally come into play. No, the phenomena of jobless growth has been viewed in several countries, including as well during the UPA regime, and I have to concede that. I believe at some point you have also left out very key sectors of actually pushing growth, right?
Yeah.
What about the infrastructure sector? You have not played emphasis on that.
Okay.
You also speak about a whole bunch, a gamut of things. Where are the jobs? You not only had a damning report come out, but there is no mention of how you're going to
But that's the point, Aishwarya, that Amitabh Kant was referring to before the break, that they've not talked about jobs because they're hoping that the that the economic growth
and the other authority areas over the NSS over there. What are you speaking about?
Okay, fair enough. Before I come back to you on the 3 points, though, the 3 sectors that the government has focused on and is hoping to be a game changer. You've spoken of the sectors that they haven't. I will come to you on those 3 specific. First, I want to quickly go back across to an on-ground perspective. We're trying to get the voices of the common people as well on the Union Budget 2019 because their voices matter, of course. Voices and expert voices. We got you voices from Lucknow an hour back. Now it's time to go to Kolkata. Let's go to West Bengal. That's a politically sensitive state with TMC squaring off against each other. What are the reactions, Shreya Chatterjee, of people there to this budget?
Well, Uday, as we just talk about the budget, remember we saw the Chief Minister as well as the Finance Minister address the press conference